Today, we are blowing up one of the most explosive misinterpretations in modern preaching. You've probably heard it before. The gospel has dynamite power. Here's the thing. That statement is not just wrong, it's dangerously misleading. Let's talk about why. Hey everyone, I'm Colin, the resident nerd and Bible scholar here at the Bible Uncut and Unfiltered. Picture with me that you are sitting in a Sunday morning church service, and the pastor gets to Romans 1:16. Suddenly his voice drops into the dramatic preacher tone. Paul says the gospel is the dunamis of God. That is the Greek word. Folks, that is where we get our modern English word dynamite, and gives some explosive gesture. The gospel will blow up your life. Sound familiar? Well, I know it does to me. I heard that sermon probably 50 times. And every single time I cringe a little bit harder. Because this interpretation has more holes in it than Swiss cheese, and is built on three major fallacies that we need to address. Problem number one. It is an etymological fail. The word dynamite does not actually come directly from Greek into English. I realize this is a little bit semantic here, but stick with me. This is somewhat interesting, I think. It actually comes through Swedish first. In 1867, mind you, 1800 years after Paul wrote Romans, the Swedish chemist Alfred Nobel invented this explosive compound and called it, and I am not even going to try to come up with a Swedish pronunciation or else I will sound like the Swedish chef, but dynamite. And he borrowed it from the Greek word dunamis. Oh, and by the way, that Alfred Nobel is the same Nobel of Nobel Prize fame. Here's the kicker though. Just because Nobel borrowed a Greek word does not mean that Paul was thinking about explosives when he used that word dunamis. That's like saying that when Jesus talked about being the Rock, he was predicting Dwayne Johnson's wrestling career. The connection just is not there. You cannot, I repeat, cannot define what a word meant 2,000 years ago by what it means today. That is Sermon Prep 101, people. Paul had zero concept of dynamite. None. When he used that word dunamis, he was thinking about the power of God that is displayed in creation, in miracles, in resurrection. He was not thinking about blowing up stuff. Just like it would be wrong to look back on some work of literature from a few hundred years ago where maybe they used the word gay and try to interpret that in a modern context of what gay means, it is wrong to look at what dynamite means today and put that back on some Greek word from a couple thousand years ago. But here's the biggest problem. And this is something that not a lot of people think about, and I am stealing this from D.A. Carson. Dynamite is fundamentally destructive. It tears things apart, it demolishes, it leaves rubble. The power of the gospel, on the other hand, that is constructive. It builds, it restores. It doesn't blow up your life, it brings deliverance and renewal. The gospel doesn't come to destroy, it comes to make all things new. So what should we say instead of this dynamite nonsense that keeps circling around? Simple. Stick to what the text actually says. Romans 1:16 tells us that the gospel is God's power for salvation. It is the divine force that rescues, restores, and renews. It's not about explosions. It's about resurrections. Not about demolition. About transformation. So the next time you hear a preacher say that the gospel has dynamite power, you can quietly shake your head and go, no, it does not. The gospel's power is far more beautiful than any explosion could ever be. So remember, just because something sounds clever doesn't mean it is correct. Let us know in the comments if you've heard anything else in sermons that sounds biblical, but actually isn't. We might just make a video about it in the future.